kind of ticking up a little bit. You're in the 10 to 14 day range typically in Bay City, Bay County for your average days on market. It's still a super aggressive seller's market, right? You're still in multiple offer situations. You're still, finding it a little bit more difficult depending on the financing type to get deals closed in those multiple offer situations.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is The Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome back to the Closing Table podcast. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and our special guest today, giving us all the real estate knowledge of his career and market. Currently, we are talking to TJ Peters. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good myself. Look
Excellent.
At you with the gamer headset and the microphone. You ready to go today?
That's what I do, I guess. I'm going to go to Twitch streaming real estate next, right?
Good start. All right, so yeah, we're going to pick your brain about some real estate stuff going on in your market specifically and just in the industry. But I like to start things off lightly, quick game, fill in the blank. I got a couple sentences all related to real estate, TJ, but they have some blanks. So I just need you to fill that in, make it make sense for us. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right, the first one. The key to a successful real estate transaction is blank.
Having a knowledgeable agent who can help you navigate the transaction.
Okay, there you go. Let's keep it moving. I wish I had known blank before buying my first property.
I wish I had known about MSHA's down payment assistance programs before buying my first property.
Look at you. The biggest risk in real estate investing is blank.
Not taking a chance. The biggest risk is that you don't take a chance and then you miss out on the opportunities.
Right on. Blank is the key to longevity as a realtor.
Relationships are the key to longevity as a realtor.
Well, look at you. Not only did you fill in the blank, but you said it with the whole sentence and you put the whole thing together. All right, TJ. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Appreciate you. So let's start off with you telling us about yourself. Who is TJ Peters outside of real estate in 60 seconds or less?
I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a community, ambassador. I mean, literally an ambassador for the Chamber of Commerce here in Bay County. I own a pool and billiards company. I run a pool league. I sit on a ton of different boards. So community servant, I guess, and family man is what sums me up.
Nice. So pool table, you getting out there with the billiards and everything?
Yeah. I play a lot of tournaments a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So you know how to do the fancy shots and the trick shots and stuff like that? You doing all that?
So I know some trick shots. I would actually have to refer that out to like my boy Jason Lynch, number 2 in the world right now for World Artistic Pool. So I'll name drop right now.
Ooh, okay. So, nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool, man. All right, well, thank you, TJ. We just want to, take the business out for a quick second.
Yeah, for sure.
Just get to know you as a human. But let's get into it, man. First and foremost, describe your current market for me and our audience. Geographically, first and foremost, where are you? Notable landmarks, attractions, local areas, cities. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so Great Lakes Bay region, that's where we're at. So your notable landmarks are more like, I like to utilize like sports teams, local sports teams. So we got the Saginaw Spirit for hockey, Ontario Hockey League, right? You've got the Great Lakes Loon, they're out in Midland. And then in Bay City, we've got, the Saginaw Bay. We put on a ton of different events here for fishing and outdoor stuff. We've got I was just at the Chamber Breakfast today, the Michigan Professional Fishing League. They're doing their Bass Championships. ESPN will be here this summer. So that's kind of where we're at geographically.
Okay, cool. All right, so do you have any information for us in regards to your market, like economically? You have any like average home prices, average time on the market, anything like that? Can you paint that picture for us?
Yeah, so it's kind of coming up. It's kind of ticking up a little bit. You're in the 10 to 14 day range typically in Bay City, Bay County for your average days on market. It's still a super aggressive seller's market, right? You're still in multiple offer situations. You're still, finding it a little bit more difficult depending on the financing type to get deals closed in those multiple offer situations, but not impossible. Still definitely tilted heavily to sellers though.
Okay, okay, got it. Still nothing too much change over the last couple weeks or months from market to market. It all seems
Yeah,
still to
we're
be in
pretty
that
pretty
seller's market.
constant, pretty constant flow. I think
Yeah.
I think nationally you're seeing with the market and the geographical drops and those market drops are typically in big communities that hold a lot of like Airbnbs, right? Not a lot of hold properties, but a lot of rental communities. That seems to
Right.
be at least on the national scale where most of the market drop is. But no, it's still pretty consistent here. I don't think that's going anywhere. I think we're going to run into the same issue for the next 50 years. Our population isn't exactly going down and
Mm,
scarcity still drives the market. We just don't have the inventory to sell houses to these clients.
got you. Got you. Man, yeah, it's definitely interesting, and we're hoping things change. As a
Yeah,
matter of
yeah,
fact, let's get into the business part. I want to talk about first time home buyers. We
yeah.
already talked about inventory being low, but let's talk about them just struggling for a down payment before we even get into the inventory. What type of advice do you give to somebody who's struggling for their down payment?
Yeah, so I touched a little bit on it when in the fill in the blanks with the MSHA down payment assistance.
Correct.
MSHA's got a great program up to $10,000 that used to be targeted geographically, like based on where you were looking. That's
Mhm.
changed just within the last couple weeks. It's $10,000 anywhere. Used to be, anybody on the loan had to be credit qualified. That's changed now. You can have like one occupant who's not credit qualified, but you can still count their income. So they still have to hit the income thresholds. But my biggest
Mm.
advice, is just to
Wow.
really pay attention to your credit, right? Like we don't think about that. I'm coming out of high school. I was in the army, right? So I come out of the army and I'm just like, I got unlimited income, although it's low. It's always going to be there. The first and the 15th, my money's going to be there, and I live on
Right.
post. I've got uh, the chow hall. I don't have to pay for any of my food because it's already there. It's super cheap. But I just wasn't responsible. My credit card spending was stupid, and just
Mm.
my credit card or my I'm sorry, my credit history wasn't great. So it took a long time to build that. Michigan does have your baseline credit scores to get approved, but um, there's a big misconception right now with the politics that if you've got a low credit score, you're going to get a cheap loan, and that's not the case at all.
Mm.
The funding fees are a little bit lower. There's a little bit of a credit towards that lower end, but your rate is still significantly higher than if you were a credit approved buyer. So
Right.
a lot of misconception. You're not getting a cheaper loan just because your credit's bad. Like you might get a little bit of discounted fees, but you're still going
Yeah.
to pay more on the whole than you are if you had good credit.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're not about to get rewarded
No,
for pretty
no,
much
no,
having
not at
bad
all.
credit. No, it's
Yeah,
not working like
right,
that.
right.
All right. So with that being said, are you seeing an increase in some of your clients or maybe other people's clients actually utilizing these down payment programs like Mishta has?
Yeah, so a lot of my business is Mishta. Like a lot of my business are first time home buyers. It's not just
Okay.
Mishta. We've got some other programs in the area. Premier Home Finance, our in-house lender, they have some non-Mishta backed down payment assistance programs too that go based off the median area value. But
Mm,
a ton of my business. I want to say and this is just a rough estimate. Probably somewhere between 70 and 80% of my clients are utilizing Mishta, either the down payment assistance portion or the non-down payment because the rate just crushes everyone right now. I think
right.
I just closed one Monday and they were a Mishta and they were at like a 6.25 rate. You can't beat that right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. So, are there any misconceptions about the program that you know of that you had to clarify for your clients or any potential clients that you want to clear out right here on the closing table?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is agent driven, right? A lot of that is the other side. There's the misnomers that you're going to get hung up on a loan and that you're going to have all these repairs that you have to do and it takes longer. This just like reviewing 24 to 48 hours right now. So it's like a 2-day turnaround in the additional underwriting. Most of these buyers who are in this market with down payment assistance are getting the down payment assistance because they have, for a little bit of money to do the repairs if they need it. So they don't have to be completely cash broke. So just because they are
Mm,
getting Mishta doesn't mean they don't have money. And it's just a better program rate wise.
right.
Like I
Right.
said, you can't touch it. So this misconception, I think, honestly, is industry driven. It's a lot of bias on the
Mm,
selling side. Um, and I think that a lot of that goes away if we just kind of break down those barriers on our own as sellers agents and prep our clients well. If you set your expectations for your clients, then it's no surprises and you can continue to swiftly move through the transactions.
Yeah, makes sense to me too. I get that. Okay, good. Well spoken. Well spoken. Thanks for clarifying a few things for
Yeah.
me and our audience. A couple things I didn't know also. All right, so according to HUD.gov, we really get into some official government information. HUD
Yeah.
allocated $382 million to help states produce affordable housing. Okay. With that being said, are you actually seeing this effect in your local market at all, or in the state of Michigan as far as affordable housing?
Yeah, so, of that 300 plus million, 8.5 million of it came to Michigan, right? So,
Right.
of that, I think what we're seeing and where we're seeing it through HUD is that MISTA program. We went through that 7,500, 7,500 anywhere, 10,000 in targeted areas. Well, now it's 10,000 anywhere. So I think that's where you're gonna
Okay.
see the majority of it come in.
Got you.
In terms of, like, low income housing builds or anything like that, there's not really a ton. We have a large community here for the low income housing. It's spread out pretty well. We do it, a little bit differently than a lot of communities. We're not subjected to, like, one specific, high rise or low rise. We have kinda houses spread out all over. So we do have programs in place here that do help the lower income and the housing, but, it's tough even with allocated money with the price of a new build. I mean, you're looking at your
Hmm.
baseline for a new build. I just priced it out for some clients is 200 a square, and that's just the building. That doesn't include the land or anything like that. So
Ooh.
it's really tough to look at low income housing as a new build option to build that because people with a ton of money can't afford to build it. So
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
really. I don't necessarily see new builds as the option, but I think new builds with those people who can finally afford it again, with the pricing coming down, and then that subsidy with Mishta, I think those are going to be your biggest points of the government assistance that sees the housing come back for lower income. But even then, we're still dealing with scarcity, and that's what makes it so hard. So unless we start building, you know, a bunch of houses specifically geared towards that low income, I think we're consistently going to have some trouble with it.
Right, right. I mean, so if it were up to you, if you were making decisions with that money, I mean, what would you do with it? What do you think is the solution to it
Yeah,
ultimately?
man, that is a great question, and I think that gets really political.
Yeah, yeah.
But um, I don't know. So rent hikes are so problematic right now, right? Like not everybody's going to be a
Hmm.
homeowner, and that's just unfortunate reality of our world. But our rent hikes are so much that it's almost like you're going to go broke renting. And I think a lot of that has to do with and I mean, I'll just say it. Some people are greedy, man. They see that money and somebody else can pay
Mm,
for this mortgage and they can buy their next house and they can do. And hey, I mean, I get it. More power to you. That's business. But
capitalism.
I lean a little bit more towards that humanitarian side. And if
Got
I
you.
can hit that, pay my mortgage and make just a little bit, on the business end, I don't have to be, Elon Musk. I don't have to be, crushing everybody to
I
get to
get
the
it.
top. It's just
Yeah.
not me.
Are you seeing firsthand for some reason like residents of your market like actually being like, I don't want to say bought out, but priced out of the market? Like, are you seeing this
Yeah, I mean, I
with
can
the
give you just
scarcity and
the
everything?
house that I live in right now, the one that we bought ours in 18, and I'll tell you that if I rented this house out right now, we're talking 18 to $1,900 a month. Now, what I was paying because we rented it before we purchased it, we
Right.
were paying $900. We're talking 100% increase since
Oh wow.
2017.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't think there's any question about if you're priced out or not. The
Right, right.
inflation at 7%, over the last 6 years or 4 years rather, is nowhere near what the inflation and rent hike is, right? Rent is astronomically higher than what our normal rate of inflation is. And
Mm,
I think it's an opportunity for a lot of people to make a lot of money, but I think it's also an opportunity for a lot of people to struggle. And that's kind of always how it is. One of the inherent evils of capitalism. Capitalism is great. I think it's the best economic system on the planet. I don't want it to get it
yep.
twisted. It's a
No,
wonderful
I
thing,
got you.
but it
Yep.
does come with inherent flaws, and there are people who suffer for other people to get wealthy.
Great point. Great point. In your experience, what are the key challenges faced by this extremely low housing or low income housing and accessible, affordable housing in Michigan? What do you think are the key challenges?
I mean, the key challenge is how do we increase the inventory and do so at an affordable rate, right? Like
Right.
we're getting all the subsidies, but with the prices at again, the new build prices being what they are, um, how do we sustain that, right? We can do one time builds, and we can build the low income communities, but how do we continue to maintain the infrastructure after it's built? I think historically we've had that problem in America in general. Just we build great, we get a bunch of funding, we get a bunch of sourcing, we build, and then it all goes to shit, pardon my language.
I
But
get you.
we just don't maintain it, right? We talk
Right, right,
about
right.
the whole build the roads concept, like, or fix the roads. Like, we built all the roads and then we didn't maintain them. And here in Bay City, we have a problem with bridges,
Uh,
right? We had the bridge partner. We had to privatize our bridges just recently because we didn't have the money to sustain 4 bridges. Two of them are state owned and
Mm,
two of them are city owned. We outsource it privately. So I think the biggest problem or the biggest challenge is finding the ways to sustain that if we do build it.
got you. Oh wow. Yeah. It makes sense though, right? I mean, it's not just about obtaining, it's about maintaining
Yeah, a hundred
also.
percent, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right,
I mean,
right.
'cause how many
Okay.
in '08, right? Everybody and their brother got a house. You get a house, and you get a house, and you get a house,
Yeah,
and you get a
yeah.
house, and then we saw the biggest housing bubble and crash that we've ever
Prime
seen because
example.
we gave everybody
Hmm.
houses. Everybody had them, and everybody got in there, and then nobody could pay for them anymore.
Correct.
So the answer obviously is not always going to be just build and give everybody a house because we still have to maintain it. So I sit
Mm,
on a school board, and one of the big things that we're doing right now for our families, not just our kids, but our families, is like this coming Friday, we have a program called Mad City Money where we come in and we teach financial literacy to our families and their children and things like
there you
that.
go.
So part of that is understanding that financial literacy goes to house payments and maintaining your household, maintaining your utility bills, and all of those things. So I think the big piece is education that a lot of people are missing.
Correct.
I didn't grow up really with any financial literacy education
I
whatsoever,
was just gonna
as
speak
I
on that.
stated. You
Most
know what I
of
mean?
us.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge in our community. My school, the school that I sit on the board of, I think we're at like a 96% poverty rate in terms of our kids. So we have a
Oh wow.
hugely struggling class that we're really trying
Mm,
to build back and get back to. And I think that just kind of speaks to
wow.
the bigger problems in real estate.
Yeah, yeah, that is a crazy number. That
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
very significant. I mean,
Yep.
wow, that's okay. It's hard to get past that one, but all right. So I had a random question in
Yeah.
regards to real estate lawyers. Like, what role do they play in the buying and selling process?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. Like if you're getting a land contract, which seems to be, it's great. Actually, transitions great from the conversation. Impoverished buyers typically are looking for rent to own, right? Because they can't get financed traditionally. So
Right.
a real estate attorney is going to be the one that writes that contract. They're going to be the ones that really look at that. In terms of the normal day to day, the everyday that I deal with, it's very rare that I deal personally with a real estate
Okay.
attorney outside
That
of
was
like
gonna be my
my
question.
legal con ed. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
if I have a question pertaining to something in the market, I'll call the legal hotline. But I think I've personally only used the legal hotline one time, and it was this last time was just this last week, and we were talking about appraisal guarantees and what NAR's position on appraisal guarantees were, and if we thought that that might be an issue in the future. So if you don't know what an appraisal guarantee is, it's
Hmm.
the appraisal comes in at 150,000. We guarantee that we'll pay $5,000 up to what our purchase price was to gap the difference between purchase price and appraisal.
Right.
And my concern is that as a fiduciary to my client, my job is to protect their interest and make sure that they're handling the money in a responsible way in the real estate transaction, right? So if I'm telling someone, hey, I think you should pay $10,000 more than this house is appraised for, and then you foreclose in 3 years, did I handle your fiduciary in a manner that was appropriate for my client? No, I don't
Absolutely
think so.
not.
So I
Right.
hate appraisal guarantees. Me personally, it's one of those biases. Everybody loves to be a little lazy. Just be honest. Everybody likes to be a little bit lazy and say, "I'll get you the most money because we'll just guarantee that somebody's going to promise over the appraised value."
Right.
And I think we're setting ourselves up in the industry for a huge issue with buyers hammering their agents for advising the appraisal guarantees.
Mm, yeah, I mean the market is changing. People are
It
doing
is.
different things to
It
try to
it
get in these
is.
homes. I mean, you
Yeah.
got a lot of first time home buyers, a
Yep.
significant number of those, and they just want to get in the home.
Hmm.
Like
Sure.
they're competing with cash buyers and stuff like that.
Yeah, what
So
else
I
can you
mean,
do, right? Like the appraisal, it's tough. It's
exactly.
and I get it, right? Like my job is to find you a home. And I'm going to
Right, right.
educate and I'm going to explain to you what's going on in the market. I will educate you on what an appraisal guarantee is. I
Mm-hmm.
I will always disclaimer that with I do not advise that you do it. However, if you feel that's the most competitive for your offer to stick, then let's do that. Same thing
Correct.
with inspections, right? Inspections are another
Mm-hmm.
thing that everybody likes to waive. Let's not do the inspection. Listen, you can do that. Here are some things that may come up. I am educating you that this is an option, but again,
Right.
I absolutely do not advise that you waive your inspection. So if you're going to do
Correct.
that, you need to do that of your own accord.
Hey,
So
you're driving this car. I'm just the
that's it.
passenger
That's
with
right.
the, you know
I'm
what I'm
helping you
saying? So
navigate. You know what I mean? Consider
exactly.
me
There
your
you
Tom
go.
Tom. So
Tom Tom. He took it to Tom Tom.
that's it.
That's hilarious. Okay. So let's get more specifically with your market again and a couple programs that's been going on. Over $500,000 of the American Rescue Plan Act have been dispersed to help the Bay County residents with overdue utility bills, mortgage and rent payments, past due taxes. This is from mlive.com.
Yep.
How do you think this allocation is impacting the supply and demand in your market?
Yeah, so a lot of those past due bills are going to be, I mean, for the most part, I feel like anecdotally from the knowledge that I have being involved here is a lot of renters. So
Mm-hmm.
I think those are
Yeah.
not homeowners. So I
Yeah.
don't know that it directly affects our supply and demand for homeownership, other than the inability to pay bills with the COVID, COVID restrictions. You couldn't evict the moratorium there. It allowed people to kind of um, not foot their bill, right? And I don't mean that intentionally or maliciously, but it did give
Mhm.
them an option. Sometimes when you're struggling that poverty line, you have to make a choice on whether you're going to eat or whether you're going to pay the electric. So giving some help with the electric allowed those people to eat a little bit, right? And I think that was huge. But I think the only way that that affects supply and demand is landlord's frustration, right? If I'm a landlord
Right.
and my bills aren't getting paid and I'm the one that's getting dinged before the AARP, then or the American Rescue Plan, I'm sorry, then maybe I sell. You know what I mean? Maybe I get rid of some of
Right.
my liquidate my profile or portfolio. And I know that we
Right. Right.
saw an uptick in the multi-housing with a lot of that, but I don't think that was as much towards the rescue plans as much as it was the moratorium on evictions and the back rent stuff like that. I think that was the
Right.
real thing.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, now that I think about it and you put it in that perspective, I can see this helping more of the renters. It's
Yeah.
saying, rent payments, past due bills and stuff like that. I mean, is it that, is it that you I mean, that benefits more of renters, or do you feel like, I mean, it does say mortgage payments and past due
Yeah.
taxes. So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
can help. You
It
think they're just
absolutely
not taking
does. It absolutely does.
advantage?
No, I don't. I just don't think the numbers is high, right? I think there are
Got
mortgage
you.
people. I
Got
think
you.
there are people that did take advantage of it. I absolutely
I
think there
feel
are,
it.
people that took advantage of it. But I think that most of it went towards that impoverished line with that. And I think that when we talk about mortgages and you really look at, poverty line versus say credit score to qualify for a mortgage, I think that you would see more of that funding be utilized for the impoverished community
Got
to
you.
pay those bills. I don't have any
Got you.
concrete evidence. This is, just speculation, of course. But yeah, I would guess that that's kind of where the majority of it went.
Okay. Okay. Quick random question. How long have you been licensed and doing real estate specifically in your market, your
Yeah,
current
so
market?
the whole entire time I've been doing real estate, it's been in my market. I was licensed. I got
Okay.
licensed in July of 19. Just recently passed my broker's licensing, so I'm an associate broker now here in my market as well. So it's been about 4 years.
Okay. Okay. So my follow-up question to that is how have you seen your market shift over those last 4 years? And not just going into the fact that it's a seller's market, but more of maybe the mindsets of the buyers, maybe the mindsets of the sellers, maybe the resources, the specific things that's going on and that affects your market. How have you seen that evolved over the last couple of years?
Yeah, so when I started 19, we weren't quite into that COVID boom yet. So it was competitive. You were able to really negotiate. You could
Right,
look
right.
at things like the appraisal and say, I think we're a little bit, I think we've got some room to move, or I think we can definitely get these repairs done, or, stuff like that. And then as it's transitioned, the more hectic and chaotic it's gotten in that sellers, you start to see the things that we've talked about already, right? Your appraisal gaps, your inspection waivers, and
Mm-hmm.
all those. And it's definitely shifted in a strong-handed seller's market. It can't sustain forever, but that said, we still have no inventory. So I think it's going to be tilted one way in our market at least for a while until
Okay.
Bay City and Saginaw specifically in the Great Lakes Bay region have historically been incredibly low property values, right? So when you see all these other markets starting to collapse outside, not collapse, but starting to come down a little bit, right,
Right.
and
Right.
drift, and you're an outside investor looking for where you're going to put your next rentals, this is a prime location because our
Mm.
values were some of the lowest in the, per capita in the state. So if I'm looking as an out of state investor, I'm looking at I'm on down in Detroit, for instance, or over in Grand Rapids, and I'm like, hey, I really love the rental business, but the prices are starting to get high here. Bay City's still prime for that. So you're seeing a lot of
Okay.
investors, a lot of cash deals in our market, and with that, now your scarcity for your average homeowner starts to get a little bit more
Correct.
competitive. You still
Correct.
have the buyers who are trying to purchase, and I think we've got. I don't think this problem goes away in the short foreseeable future.
Mm. Oof. It's,
Yeah.
it's 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 a tough pill to
It
swallow, but
is. It
it
is.
is what it is.
Yeah.
That's why they always say get in the market whenever you
Yep.
can get into the
Absolutely.
market.
And I could be
Don't just wait
completely
on things.
wrong, but
Yeah.
I would I like to gamble. I'm a pool guy, right? I like to gamble. I would gamble on that for sure.
There it is. There it is. Okay. So I want to know you're a homeowner,
Yeah.
obviously. And with that being said, is there anything that you would do different, knowing what you know today with today's resources? What approach would you take to own a home if you were just, if you didn't own a home and you were looking into purchasing your first one?
Yeah, I would probably my very first home, I would have bought a multi-unit. I would have bought, like a duplex or a multifam. I would have lived in one and
Yeah.
primaried that thing, and then I just
Yeah.
rent out the other units, and my mortgage is paid. I could start banking that, build some equity, and then buy another one. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
reality. If I wouldn't have bought a single family home if I knew what I did now, I wouldn't. I've got a great house. Don't get me wrong, I love my house. I've got a 5 bed, 2 bath on an acre. Like it's a
Right.
great place. We bought it for like 87,000, so it was a steal in the market, right?
Mm.
But 1,600 square feet, like you can't find that for 80,000.
Oh,
Move
look
in
at you.
ready, come on.
Yeah. Oh
But
man, come on.
but if I could have bought a multifamily, 5 years ago, knowing where the market's at now,
Yeah.
I'd probably own 15 to 20 just based off of equity movement.
We are advocates for that here at the closing table. I
Yeah,
speak on
yeah,
house hacking very
yeah,
often, and I like when I ask that question because and most of the time that's the response. I
yeah.
wish I would have bought a duplex or triplex or something like that. So
Absolutely,
we
absolutely,
appreciate that perspective.
for
Thank you,
sure.
TJ, for pulling up a seat to the closing table and sharing your knowledge with us. At this point, if you have any last words and/or want to tell the people how they can reach out to you, please do so now.
No, first off, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. It's nice to sit down and just talk a little bit about the industry with somebody who's not shopping. So so that's great. For me, you can get a hold of me on my Facebook page, TJ Peters Realtor, or I'm at Our Home and Co. In Bay City. Number,
Mhm.
if you want to give me a call, 989-439-3077.
There it is. There it
All
is.
right.
Thank you again, TJ.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. And for our YouTube audience watching right now, if you got into this point, please do us both a favor and hit that like button. Also, make sure you share the content and subscribe to our channel. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. TJ, we always leave our audience with a question before we leave. Hey, audience, would you be able to purchase a new home simply by viewing, listing, photos, and videos without actually physically seeing it? Do you think you could possibly do it? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.